We're going to cover about the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, as well as Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons on the Philadelphia 76ers. There could be changes in their career, leaving teams, being traded, free agency, depending on these next couple of seasons, especially for Giannis Antetokounmpo in 2020, 2021. Let's see if he can get to the finals, let alone win a championship. With the Sixers, let's see if they get bounced in the first round or if they can even make a conference finals and see with these guys. So ESPN's going to go talk about it, and I'm going to give my take.
Plus 130, and LeBron James looks to join Bill Russell, Sam Jones, and Kareem as the only players to make the finals 10 times. The Clippers have the second best odds to win the West. They're plus 160. They're 49 seasons without making it to the finals. Directly preceding or even the round before that is the longest in league history. In the East, the Bucks are overwhelming favorites to reach the finals at minus 230. Milwaukee looking to make it for the third time in history, first time since 1974, and the Celtics are behind them in the East at plus 500 at 43-21. Boston is on pace to post its best winning record since the season that ended in 2011. Looking at a little deeper into it, the defending champion Raptors have the next shortest odds to win the East, with the Sixers right behind them.
Yeah, when it comes to Eastern Conference, we have all had the Milwaukee Bucks going to make it during the season. Before the season started, I've always sticked with the Lakers against the Bucks in the finals. That was my first go-around. A lot of people were saying the 76ers. I didn't agree with them because Milwaukee was so close to getting to the finals. But Giannis, this was his first time making the conference finals, let alone winning any matchups or playoff series. So now he has that experience in the conference finals. Kawhi Leonard did go out west, so the Raptors left the door open for the Milwaukee Bucks. I still expect them to probably go against each other in the conference finals. I actually have the 76ers probably going to be bounced in the first round against the Boston Celtics if they were to face. But yeah, no, Philadelphia needs to retool. And we can see here it's looking like Milwaukee and the Lakers as expected. But whenever it comes to the East, yeah, everyone expects the Bucks. The West, either Lakers or Clippers. I still have my money on the Los Angeles Lakers.
To capture the West of the 13 teams that remain. Remember, they've been a different team since they got Zion Williamson back. We will answer some big questions around the NBA. Wendy's still with us, and Jay Will joins us this morning as well. And so, Jay Will, I'll start with you, and we'll start in Milwaukee. We just mentioned the Bucks are a prohibitive favorite. Second year in a row, they'll be the one seed in the Eastern Conference. Giannis will be going into the final year of his deal when this season comes to an end. So what would you say is at stake for them and for him if it doesn't go well in these playoffs?
Well, listen, Cats. I've been saying this in the past couple videos I have put out. I expect the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis to make the finals for this season, 2020. There's really nothing in the way I see stopping them. If they were not to make the finals, then they're going to have to make some moves to where they have to push all out for 2021 because that will be Giannis Antetokounmpo's last year in his contract, to where he'll opt out and go into free agency to where he can maybe leave. But usually I expect this to be the Bucks are really focused on this next year as well as here for 2020 and 2021. I expect the Bucks to make the finals. I expect them to lose to the Los Angeles Lakers in probably around 6 games. And then I don't think the Bucks would ever get back to the finals. I think they'll probably lose in the conference finals or probably the second round against the Brooklyn Nets next season with a healthy Kevin Durant and a Kyrie Irving, as well as other East teams that could rise. I think all the momentum and juice will be gone from the Bucks and Giannis, and the storyline for the NBA is to push them away from Milwaukee into another franchise. That's how I have my predictions, things to see. But overall, what's at stake for the Bucks if they fail to reach the finals? People are going to be really looking really hard at Giannis because you got to think about it. Who's he going to lose to? If you lose to the Raptors, that's even a worse look than losing without Kawhi Leonard on that team anymore. If you lose to the Celtics, still a bad look. And then if you were to lose to the 76ers somehow, if they got there, that's even worse because they're going to probably be a 6 seed. So the writing's on the wall for Giannis. I think they're going to make the finals. So, I'm not really stressing on this question.
Season with the Milwaukee Bucks, and just to give context to fans, after LeBron James spent 7 seasons in Cleveland after not winning a championship, that is when he decided to leave for Miami. I do not see Giannis leaving Milwaukee, even if they were to lose. That's just my personal opinion on this. Obviously, a lot of things can change. I think the relationship that he has with Mark Lazary John Horst, who is the GM, I think is a very special relationship. He seems more like a small town market individual. Doesn't seem to be loomed away to the big cities by the lights. And I think if anything, this pandemic has kind of showed him the power of a smaller market and some of the things he can do. But there's a lot of time left to be told, and we'll get a chance to watch with the front row seat.
Well, Wendy, he mentioned the pandemic, and that could have another impact on how this plays out. What's that?
Yeah, so the reason that the Supermax was even put into the NBA was for this exact reason, to offer superstars so much money that they don't want to leave. It's had mixed success. The problem, however, is we don't know what the salary cap is going to look like next year. And even if the Bucks went 16-0 through the playoffs, if the salary cap collapses, it may not make economic sense for Giannis to extend. And this could even also apply to the Lakers and Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis could be smiling from ear to ear, so happy to be in LA, but it may not behoove him to sign a long-term contract this summer. So the results on the floor obviously matter, but the negotiations with the CBA and what happens with the salary cap may matter more about whether these guys re-sign this summer.
And to be clear, that would mean that Giannis would play into the last year of his contract, and then, all bets are off. You never know when things like that happen. Here's the next one. Let's talk about the 76ers. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons basically are the process. And Jay Will, you and I have talked a lot over the course of the time that you've been with me here on this show about that team and how it's just never quite fit together perfectly. So if this thing should get cut short abruptly in this postseason, Wendy, I'll start this one with you. What's at stake?
Okay. I expect the Sixers to most likely lose in the first round this season. They're hovering around the 6th seed. They're probably going to play Boston the first round, probably go 6 or 7. Listen, you're not supposed to blow up this team with Simmons and Embiid. A lot of people were saying they don't fit together. Just blow it up. Guys, they played 3 seasons together. I think this is around the 3rd or 4th. Probably the 3rd, but whatever. They played around 3 seasons together. These are young cats. They're gelling together. They're having playoff experience playing together. These are 2 dynamic young stars in this league. You keep them together until a total of around 7 seasons. So they should stay together for another 3 to 4 seasons after this season. Elton Brand, he needs to retool the team. They did very well in the very first season for Ben Simmons in 2018 when it was Simmons and Embiid. Then you add a bunch of European players and 3-and-D scorers like you had JJ Redick on the team, you had Marco Bellinelli, you had Ersan Ilyasova. These were great fits that fit very well to Ben Simmons' style of play and Joel Embiid. And they were successful. They waxed the Miami Heat in 5 games. They lost in the semis. Then the next season, which was last season, they lost to the Toronto Raptors in Game 7 of the semis. So they're getting playoff experience. The thing that's detriment, what I didn't like, because they had a great timeline coming from 2018 and building up, but they rushed the process because they brought in Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. Those were great picks, but whenever Jimmy Butler left the next following season, you kind of go backwards a little bit. Same thing whenever Jimmy Butler was on the Minnesota Timberwolves. I expected the Timberwolves to have Karl-Anthony Towns as well as Andrew Wiggins and build up, get the timeline going to where they get playoff experience and then they kind of take it from there. But Jimmy Butler rushed that process to where they brought in a bunch of veterans like Jamal Crawford, Taj Gibson, and they expected to kind of win and compete as of right now. And that really hindered the process of Cat and Andrew Wiggins because Jimmy Butler will get on those cats and, he was getting mad at Cat for being soft. Same thing with Andrew Wiggins' work ethic. He was pushing them to a level to where they weren't there in their timeline. Same thing with Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris on the Sixers. So they're pushing the process a little too quick. But think about it. Their first season, they made the first season with Ben Simmons, they made to the second round. The next season, same thing, second round, but they went to Game 7. And then right now, Elton Brand, he didn't do well at all in free agency. Jimmy Butler left. He signed Tobias Harris for 5 years, around $35 million each year. Then he didn't do well with the rest of the playoffs or the rest of the players on their team. They don't have any 3D scorers or shooters. The team doesn't mesh it well. So this is a downfall season for the Sixers. Elton Brand really needs to retool, have that same energy and mindset as the GM did and have in 2018. And Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid need to grow for another 3 to 4 seasons. I expect them to get at least one finals appearance. If they don't, then around in 2023 or 2024, expect for them in their contract years to either trade one or the other or kind of move on from there.
This is one of the things that people and executives have been talking about for 9 months now, long before we knew what COVID-19 was. And the feeling is that with talent like this, you try everything you possibly can before breaking them up. So if they do not have a strong postseason, I think Brett Brown's job would be on the line first before they would consider breaking these guys up. But one more thing I got to say about the money. The 76ers are scheduled to have a $145 million payroll next year. That was based on things staying the same.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, it's ridiculous. Elton Brand signed Al Horford for 4 years, around $25 million for each year, which is crazy stupid. He's around, 33, 34 years of age, maybe even hovering around 35. Then Tobias Harris with that big contract. So this is what they need to do. They need to fire Brett Brown after a first-round exit, maybe even a second-round exit. He's been a great coach through the process, but I'm sorry for that, man. This is the way business is. They need to bring a coach more X and O's design, not more of a scream-at-you defensive mindset. That's number one. Number two, you need to trade away Al Horford. You got to clear that cap space, throw in some picks, something that you have to do. Tobias Harris, I would actually let him go. I would look to trade him for more of like a LaMarcus Aldridge type, to where he's on an expiring deal. That's a player that could fit well on his team, or maybe even package with a Ricky Rubio. Players that need to fit on this team. Again, 2018, if you look in the playoffs, when they played against the Miami Heat, that was a great fit and style for that team. Now they've diverted away from it into I can't even explain the team. There's no chemistry. The players don't match at all. It's just a mess right now in Philadelphia.
They may have to cut salary and break up the team anyway. So much of this is going to hinge on these negotiations.
Let's try and put that piece to the side. It's important, no question. But just looking at it from a basketball perspective, Jay Williams, if you were making the decisions in Philadelphia and this thing were to get cut short in this playoff run here, would you be considering, I forget considering, would you be thinking, I need to break these two guys up?
Real quickly, no, do not break them up. I don't even know why the media's talking about it. This is their third season together. It makes no sense. Again, their first 2 seasons, second round exit, but in a Game 7 against the Raptors. They're in a great direction and a flow for this team. These guys are very young and they're stars, studded players. They can make it work together, even though they don't really have the same playing style per se. It's still going to lead to success. Give them more experience and time together. Again, this is their third season. Let's evaluate in the 6th or 7th season before contracts are going to be expired, and we can evaluate by then. I expect them to at least get a couple conference finals appearances as well as one finals appearance.
But if I got to my last resort, and I've been on our show talking about this screening last year, I would build my team around Ben Simmons. Now, I know Joel Embiid is a very special talent, and there's no doubt that talent-wise, he's one of the best there is in the league. The question for Joel Embiid is about health. And I know Ben Simmons is coming off an injury, and now his health is in question to a degree too. But there's been a scope of work as it relates to health injuries for Joel Embiid. And I think that's the main question. Can he remain healthy? And is that sustainable for the next 10 years of a franchise where I have a guy like Ben Simmons who, the way he can get people involved in the game, the pace in which he can play at the game, his defensive prowl, which is something that is incredible. I think he's the upper defensive player of the year this year in the league. I will build my team around Ben Simmons. If you're asking me, if it comes down to that, I will go with Ben.
Is Ben Simmons a better player without Joel Embiid on his team? It's not a disrespect to Embiid, but based upon the way they both play, Jay Will, is...
Well, I mean, they play different styles. Ben Simmons is more up and going on the fast break, and then they fit very well because Ben Simmons on the half court, whenever he brings the ball up, he's more stagnant on the offense. So if it's better whenever he has Joel Embiid during that time.
Is Simmons better without Embiid?